You are listening to the Unified Field with your host, Mr. Justin Brown.
All right, welcome back to the program. This is UFR, Unified Field Radio, Atlantic Canada's only paranormal radio broadcast, and I'm Mr. Justin Brown, bringing it all home for all you guys and gals out there in Radio Land. Hope you're enjoying the dark part of night, because these Saturdays are rockin' with you and I, and the deep, dark truths and secrets that we uncover every bi-weekly evening here at CKDU 88.1 FM in Halifax. So without further ado, let's get back to the Don Ledger interview.
See, this is what bothers me. This is the big problem, that we can do that as a collective. We're at a point now where we can work together and create an amazing, brilliant new future that we always envisioned. And the problem is of the denial of what's happening here is large to me, okay? Yeah. In my opinion, something is happening. There's more going on than we're being told. It goes very, very deep. And it's very easy for me to understand that, you know, there's information that shouldn't be shared with everybody. I understand that. National security issues, social structure issues. I understand that. But we're at a day and age now in 2010 where the world is coming together and a pope is even saying, you know, it's a possibility. I think it's important, and I'll tell you why in a second, that the powers that be come out and say, you know what? There are extraterrestrial visitors visiting Earth. And that's all they have to say, because the implications spiritually and technologically could leapfrog us into a whole new era. You know, now here's where the problem rolls into because of the oil lobbyists, right? And the big machine that's been cranky for so long. But with the possibility of changing our entire future rests on their hands because they hold the money and power, it seems, even though, you know, in reality we do, right? So us as a collective understand that it's happening, but for them to come out and say it would move things a lot faster. That's my problem, is that they're preventing a future that's very bright and larger than we have now.
Well, yeah, it's what would take a planet-wide mindset to get involved in this. Look, even now NASA's just pulling its horns in. It's basically downgraded itself to second grade. You know, I mean, I don't think the Chinese are going to let this slide by. I think they're going to probably jump into the forefront. Yeah. The Russians would if they had any money, but most of the money they have now comes from the United States in order to keep them, the Soyuz capsule going up into space. They're pulling down their space shuttle, which I think is a bad move because basically they're hamstringing themselves for getting back to the ISS, and the Russians have already increased the cost per person to go up there for the Americans from about $23 million up to 55. Wow. And 55 million, and once the last shuttle flies, I would suspect it'll go even higher, and you know, because they'll hold them up because basically they can't. The only game in town, so what else are you going to do? You know. So I'm not sure why they're taking this position in the United States. Economics probably is one reason. Yeah. But you know, space is not one of those things that people say, well, you know, we shouldn't be wasting all our money on this sort of thing. We should be putting in more housing for the poor. Yeah. It never works. You know. That has to be done in another way. The fact of the matter is, millions of jobs have been created because of space. I mean, look at the technology we have now. We rely on it. This, cell phones, right from cell phones, you know, to flat screen TVs, to toasters, you know, you name it. Yeah. Everything is based on technology. The computer that was originally really thrust forward through the impetus of the space exploration and lightning. You know, getting things lightened up so that you wouldn't weigh so much, but still do the same job. Yeah. And in other words, get away from the vacuum tube, get into the transistors, and then get printed circuitry and so on. And so forth.
Yeah. See, this is what I'm talking about. The new renaissance, the new revolution that's about to take place, with or without, you know, those powers that be coming out with a disclosure. We're kind of getting a little off topic though, because I wanna like, since we're local here, I kind of want to just jump back for a second, back into Maritime UFO Files, if you don't mind. I don't even know if you've heard of this, but I seem to recall, like, just this year, a sighting in and around St. Mary's University in Halifax. Like, I read it in the paper, but I could find very little info thereafter by any source. Do you remember, like, a sighting taking place here locally?
It's vaguely, I think. When was it?
Oh, geez, it feels like it was the summer that passed.
Oh, last year, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Vaguely something to that effect. You know, the problem with UFO reports nowadays is all the wrong questions get asked. You can eliminate a whole pile of possible suspects by just, and maybe I can get this on right now so people, when they're going to make a report to somebody, particularly to the press, they notice, a half a dozen things. For one thing, what time of the day was it? What was the location? What direction did you see it in? How high did it appear to be? Note the time, for sure. What were the winds? Was it windy? Do you know what direction the wind was coming from? Where was Venus? Where was Arcturus? Where was any of the other planets you might know about or might not know about? Did you see the moon? And if so, mention that was up, but that was over in that part of the sky, and this was what you were looking at was here. What was it? Do you think this might have been an airplane or so? You can eliminate all kinds of many of the usual suspects just by coming up with some of those details. If we know what the winds were and the direction this thing was flying in, we can determine whether we can eliminate a balloon right off the bat. First of all, balloons are, in most cases, probably account for maybe 2 to 3% of unidentified flying objects. Right? It's way blown out of proportion to the actual numbers. All right, because basically balloons. There's 3 types of balloons. There's weather balloons, atmospheric observation balloons that the science sends up. These things could be like 400 feet in diameter, up there at 60, 80 to 90,000 feet hanging there, and hot air balloons, right? And each one of those are going to be known to air traffic control. You just cannot release anything into the atmosphere that's going to get up into the air lanes and threaten aircraft. It's called NOTAMs, which is noticed airmen, and if you're going to launch a scientific balloon, it's probably going to have a 600-pound package on it. When it's going up, everybody wants to know where that thing is and constantly track it because it's got a GPS location device built right into it, particularly nowadays, that tells the receivers on the ground where it is. And if it looks like it's getting anywhere near air traffic control lanes, which anything basically above 12,500 feet is, you're going to be you'll know it's there. You have to know it's there. They just can't put the stuff up there willy-nilly without air traffic control knowing about it. Right. People seem to think that you can release weather balloons or any of that stuff without contacting the regulating authority on that. You just can't do it. But people don't know that, of course, because they don't see it on TV. Most people get their information about aviation and how it works from TV and the movies, and that's a lot of crap for the most part.
Right.
But anyway.
Yeah, for sure. This Maritime UFO Files book is fantastic. You've got stories from Spring Hill to Greenwood. What do we got here? St. John's, Tantallon, Hubbard's, all over the place. First of all, listen, congratulations. I mean, the book came out a few years ago now, but it's a fantastic piece of local area ufological history. So thanks for writing this book, first of all. Can we get to this story in the book about the possible abductions here in Halifax? I know that for personal and security reasons, the people kind of didn't want, they wanted their names omitted from the story. But can you give us the rundown of what took place here in Halifax with those witnesses?
Well, some of them, sure. First of all, if they go to donledger.com, they'll find the book on there, Maritime UFO Files.
Great.
They can either contact me or go to Nimbus Publishing in Halifax. They have it. And another little blurb, Shag Harbour UFO.
Yeah.
That's a website I do, but it's for Shag Harbour. There's a festival coming up. They call it a festival on August 6th and August 7th. I'm sorry, August, that is, 6th and August 7th, down in Shag Harbour. And there's 5 speakers will be there on the second day talking about unidentified. I'll be actually doing the piece on Shag Harbour this year with a PowerPoint presentation and everything.
Really?
Okay, so you're and again, I lost. What was that question again?
The stories of the possible abductions here in Halifax.
Oh, well, yeah, that was another thing that impressed me with when I started getting involved with this. That wasn't something I was looking to get involved with, but I had to put them in there because they came to me. People, when they found out I was doing this, or that I was involved, with MUFON and so on, people started contacting me about, not specifically UFO sighting, but what was happening to them. And what impressed me was the people who were coming to me. Not necessarily from just here either. The one that happened down in the Lake Echo area, that was a fairly detailed account. I couldn't get all of that into the book. Some of these things run for you got like 30 or 40 pages of detail, and they just won't take that in a book.
Right.
It's going to be part of a larger book, and so the again, getting back to that, holding back certain information so that you can try to determine if people are just pulling your chain, yanking your chain, and just trying to looking for their 15 minutes of fame or something like that. Which this one, that doesn't work, because usually these people don't want anybody else to know. They want to know what happened and what's happening to them. And it's the type of people that report, and they're just not your everyday folks like us. They're just about since I put that book out in 1998, that's 12 years ago. I've had a heck of a lot more people go for it, about this sort of thing.
Right.
And but not just from here, all over from Canada, the United States, they've contacted me, and to give me their input. And since I don't claim to be any expert in that area. Bud Hoppins and Dave Jacobs and a few other people in the world are more adept at this sort of thing, because they've been dealing with it for like 20 odd years now. Well, since way back in the Bernie, and Bernie Hill and his wife.
Betty
Hill back in 1961. So a certain thread goes through all of these, each one of these things when it happens, and it's never ever like what you see on TV or on the X-Files or anything like that. It's always it's more foreign than that. More, I don't know. It's, I guess, otherworldly is probably another explanation for it, without getting into specifics, because of the fact that most of them seem to track along the same line. Something happens, it doesn't start to come out for sometimes months. It might be years later, depending on the age of the people, and then all of a sudden they'll start realizing that way back that this goes way back into their childhood. And then you'll find out not only childhood, since then a case, involving somebody down in Cape Breton. It turns out the whole family seems to have been involved, and it goes back into their childhood, and it seems to be generational. And but the fact of the matter is, it seems to be so off the wall, so over the top, that to even try to bring it up with anybody in science, they say, you can see the shutters going down in their eyes, say, come on in, nuts. That's foolishness. It's some kind of a psychological problem. Well, if it is, I'm telling you, there's an awful lot of people who have this problem. But then again, I don't claim to be an expert. I don't hypnotize anybody or go into anything like that, and that's always been a bit of a bugaboo amongst researchers anyway, about the hypnotic thing. And so,
do we have any descriptions? Like, let's get to the meat and potatoes here. Do they have any descriptions of the entities that they were abducted by?
Yeah, well, basically, it's your usually, the small creature-like animal, or whatever you want to call it, creature-like intelligence, big eyes, big heads, small body underneath, and there never seems to be anybody that actually claims, well, there are some people claim, they're wearing some kind of a silver garment or something like that. It's more like what's happening to them rather than the detail. They give you as much of a description they can. A lot of people shy away from it because they start getting really upset when they start describing the so-called creature, right?
Yeah. Are these descriptions coming from the local people that had come to you to relay their stories?